Welcome along, guys. Welcome back to the Japanese garden for another one of our comparison series, I guess we're going to call it. Today we're comparing a couple of absolute incredible machines, bikes I've absolutely loved, bikes I've not been able to wait to get on to ride. Spent the afternoon thrashing around the countryside, all within legal speed limits. This had that. We never once went over the legal limit.
To do the two things in parallel, isn't it?
And it is about 31 degrees today, so
it's extremely warm.
We are absolutely baking.
A little bit hot, but I feel like I've arrived as well because obviously I've now got the LCR t-shirt. So there you go. Welcome to the club.
Welcome to the club. Officially in the club.
The elite club. I feel honoured.
You should be. You should be. Very odd. We're happy to have you, mate. Happy to have you.
Good. Well, thanks for inviting me. Another great, really enjoyable afternoon. I mean, I've never ridden the RSV4, and I've owned a BMW S1000RR previous model. Yeah. So it's really interesting to try out the latest model, the current model. Yeah. And obviously with those wheels on as well, it feels.
It's a big change to the old model as well, isn't it? They've done a lot to it. The whole bike's revised. Definitely. You know, I think you can definitely feel the DNA from the old bike without a doubt, can't
Correct.
you? So as before, let's go through some top trumps. So we did top trumps with the Triumphs, I think that worked rather well. So we've done a similar thing with these two beauties. So I've actually got, I've got yours, mate. If you're sitting next to that bike, you've got to answer those questions. Okay. It's the rules. So the RSV4 power of this machine, 217 horsepower. That's going to take some beating.
It is going to take some beating. That is, I mean, it's just laughable figures, aren't they? It's so funny.
Yeah.
207 for the BMW.
Pull over up here and then let's have a swap back the other way on the same bits of road. It'd probably be quite good. I'm itching to try that. Let's have a go on this. Oh, it feels wider. It feels wider.
Does it? Yeah. Oh God, it does, doesn't it?
It's weird.
Yeah, the BMW's like skinny, isn't it?
It feels bigger here, doesn't it? Oh, doesn't it sound nice?
Come on, Johnny!
Oh, it's got a nice little pop.
God, the BMW though, then on the power, I just literally let it rip through the gears. This is like electric smooth. The BMW's electric, isn't it? Whereas that's raucous, isn't it?
Throttle response doesn't feel as smooth. It's like nothing, and then 5 grand it hits. There's nothing, then it comes in. Weight of the bike's always a contentious figure.
Dry or wet?
I've given both here, so we've got both here. So because we've got a bigger tank, so I thought we'd better do this properly. Because it's got a bigger tank, we'll take that into account. So wet, Aprilia claim 199 kilos wet on the RSV4. Dry, 177 kilos. Today. Yeah. So quite, they always say these things are heavy, but that is actually
not heavy.
Pretty reasonable, isn't it?
There's not a lot in it, to be honest.
No.
So wet weight for the BMW, 193.5 kilograms.
And that's the M Sport one. That's the one with the carbon wheels.
So, yeah, that's a good point actually. So if you went for the standard BMW S1000RR,
I think it's just a couple of kilos in it. That's it. It's very close.
What's the weight saving the wheels? Do you know roughly?
It's about another 2.5 kilos, I think, on the M Sport. Yeah.
Okay, and then the dry weight of the BMW is 173.3.
173. Okay.
So. And that's 177.
177. So they're really close. No. They're a Mackie D's between them, aren't they?
But interestingly, I think when you ride the two, the Aprilia feels heavier, doesn't it? I know it is a bit heavier, but it feels more than...
That's because of the wheels. That's because of the gyroscopic effect of that weight of the wheels.
Because it's really quite noticeable. And that's not to imply that the Aprilia feels heavy, but it does feel a bit slower to turn, and you have to sort of heave it over a little bit, don't you?
That's the beauty. I mean, I've had carbon wheels on a lot of my bikes, and that is the difference. Because it's that gyroscopic effect. Once that's spinning, that weight at the outside of the wheels, like 10 times the weight of the static weight. So it makes a huge difference, and you can really feel it, can't you? Right, let's have a little play on here.
Oh yes, please. Woohoo! She wheelies.
Oh, it's lovely in the twisties. It's so controllable. almost telepathic, this thing.
I've got to say, the Aprilia, the throttle response is so nice.
I know we've said it before, but the last couple of years manufacturers have really sorted out the throttle response. This is also brilliant.
You pick it up mid corner, you pick it up and it's right there, it's beautiful.
Well, the big one, I suppose, the price. The price. So this factory version, all the goodies, Öhlins, Acra, carbon wings.
It's obviously expensive.
I'm trying to justify it already. This will set you back 22,400.
Is it really?
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, isn't it?
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. And it's not even a shockable price these days because bikes are so
expensive.
Yeah. I mean, that is a lot of money.
It is a lot of money.
Yeah. And they obviously do the non-factory version.
Yeah, the non-factory is 15,999.
Okay.
So, and that is without the forged wheels.
Yeah.
No Acra. Yeah. No wings.
Yeah.
No carbon.
No carbon at all. I
no
guess.
Öhlins is the big one.
No, that's
no Öhlins.
That's the real difference.
Your
the wheels
sack suspension on that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, 15,999. You've got that soundtrack. You've still got that
exactly.
motor.
Yeah. Well, you won't quite have the soundtrack.
Well, you have to pay, but yeah, you have to pay extra for the soundtrack.
But they do. I mean, I've been they do
sound nice.
They do sound nice stock as well.
They sound nice stock.
So BMW price then, against your £22,400 for the M Sport version, which is top of the line. I think, in fairness, there's no extras missing at all. 19,995 for the M Sport version. If you go for the Sport, which is the model down without the carbon wheels, then you're at 16,995. So just 17 grand essentially. So it's 3 grand for the wheels and the paint job. That's really what you're paying for?
Yeah, and I think you get an adjustable swinging arm pivot and some other, and the seat, and our lovely seat, which we'll come on to. That's what you get with the M Sport.
And I think we've got to mention it, that's list price.
And absolutely.
It's list price for both, and when you're talking about spending this much money, there's always an element of flexibility.
Wheels Motorcycles, who very kindly lent us the RSV4, they're doing the 2019 version of this, which is identical, apart from the paint. And the electronic, still got Öhlins but hasn't got the electronic Öhlins. They're doing those for 16.5, and they were 21 grand last year. 60. I almost don't want to publicise this because it's limited stock, obviously, and I'm fairly tempted to actually get one because it's such a bike.
It is
for 16.5 grand.
It's phenomenal.
0 to 60. Well, not 0 to 60. We'll do a rolling one, but first gear to 60.
I hope this has got anti-wheelie turned on.
Yeah, it's got all that. I hope this had as well.
Yes, I know.
Some of this is anti-wheelie too. Yeah. Well, hang on then. Let's do a lot. So, 3, 2, 1, go. Sorry, I had a bit of head start there. Woohoo! Both flipping fast. Been a bit criticised in our Triumph video. We never really came to a conclusion.
Which I think
and what do you prefer? And it was like, well, I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
So what we've done, I've done a list of 9 or so criterias, and then we're going to score them. So we're going to come up with a winner on points. Yeah. And what will be interesting
so we'll both individually score each criteria and then see where we are.
Exactly. And it'll be interesting to see if the points are the same as what the bike's
emotional
best.
sense.
Exactly. Yeah.
And what we really
exactly.
feel.
So. First one on the list is performance of each of the bikes. I mean, they're both ridiculously fast. I mean, when I say performance, I'm not just talking speed, I'm talking handling, the whole package.
All of it.
From a score of 1 to 10 is what we're doing.
Okay. All right, so want me to start with the Aprilia then?
Alphabetical
order?
That's a good idea. Yeah, let's start with the Aprilia. So,
performance of the Aprilia, I would say on a score of 1 to 10, 10 being perfect, I would say it's very high. I'm going to say it's an 8.
An 8.
Yeah. And the reason that it's not a 10 for me is because it needs a little bit of finessing.
Yes.
And if you're a bit too aggressive with it, you don't get the best out of it, I don't think. And therefore, so I'm scoring it down for that because it's down to the rider what you can get out of that bike.
Agreed. The BMW is faster, but because it's easier. Correct. And that doesn't, doesn't mean it's better. It just means it's faster because it's easier. It may not be as rewarding or all of the other
those things.
But just as a performance score, being they're the fastest bike for a set of twisties. Yeah. An 8 for that. I think I'm going to go 8 as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I will try. I'll go first next time, so I don't just copy you.
Follow my lead. Follow my lead.
This BMW, though, I got to say, it's so civilised. It's very, very plush. It's very nice. Yeah, does it look good, the BM?
Yeah, it does. It looks really nice, especially in those M Sport colours. It's especially nice, don't they? And the dash is a lot better on the BM as well. It's quite small, the Aprilia dash, isn't it? I do like those new BMW dashes. Put it in the sports mode, Greg. Just hit the down button and go down into the sports. Yeah, go down and down again. Down one more. That's it. And then you got that nice. And that gives you lean angles and stuff as well, which is quite cool.
Yeah, I think the BMW, I'm going to give it a 9.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think. Well, it could even be a 10.
Really?
I mean, what would be? I can't think of a bike which is better.
Yeah.
So should that mean it's a 10, or is there always room for something to be better?
Yeah.
I don't know. I may give it 10.
Really?
I'm going to give it 10.
Okay.
I'm going to give it 10. I think it's so fast. It's so easy. It's so accessible. Yeah. The performance is so accessible on that.
Yeah.
So I'm giving it a 10.
Okay. I'm going to stick with an 8 for the BMW as well. Yeah. But for different reasons. So I agree with the fact that it's extremely easy to ride fast. Yeah. And it's obviously extremely fast on a performance, which is the criteria they're scoring. But for me, it's just a little bit lacking at the bottom. There's a bit of a build. And I think, I think you have to give it more beans than I was expecting. Yeah. And I think part of the reason for that is it's a straight 4, and I think you don't get that instantaneous shove that you get in a twin. And so I'm an 8, and I think
but I think for a straight 4, that has got so much torque.
I don't disagree.
I know, but
it's not a perfect score. I think you're being a little bit optimistic. It's really good, and 8 out of 10 they're good scores.
Yeah.
I'd give a Pooch Maxi a 1 out of 10. So.
I'm going to go 9 now. No, I'm not going to leave it at 10. That's a good point. That's a good point. I get your point.
Right, I'm going to go into dynamic suspension now. I'm going to play with my suspension, if I can remember how to do it, in mode, dynamic throttle response, and I'm also going to go dynamic suspension. Hang on, I can't remember how to do it now. No, I think it's all just happens. It all just happens when you change the throttle response and the suspensions all changes at the same time. Unlike the other BMWs where you've got to do it separately. The beauty of the BMW is the electronic suspension going from the road mode to the dynamic. There's such a big difference. You can really notice that there's a real dramatic change between dynamic and road. Really noticeable.
Quality of the bikes. So I've tried to come up with things which aren't, this can be applied to all different bikes, not just these. So quality, sort of build quality, the finish, how plastic are they. You first this time.
So I think the Aprilia quality, I'm going to give it a 9. Yeah. Because I think it feels extremely well screwed together. It's got carbon on there. It feels premium everywhere. I think it really does. I really like the build quality.
Yeah.
The BMW, I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with it, and it seems well built, but it does feel a little bit cheapy, plasticky. There's some things that you tap that I don't like. I'm not in love with the frame. No. So I'm going to go. And I think we have to, if you don't mind, everybody. I think we've got to consider that these are both £20,000 plus bikes.
Yeah.
That's it. And so
the quality is respective of the money you're paying.
Exactly. I think I'm going to give the BMW. I'm going to go 6.5 actually, which I know is really quite a low score, and I'm really sorry. I don't want this to be the end.
It's a tough crowd,
I don't want this to be the end of your channel. BMW, right? But no,
it's nice working with the BMW motor around while it lasted.
No, but I just think, and I've got a caveat it. It's not because nothing's broken on it and it all works, but it's a little bit cheapy. There's no carbon. There's nothing with the exception of the wheels. There's nothing special there.
I agree. There's not one piece of plastic on this bike. Everything is carbon. Every piece of trim is carbon. Yeah, it's another good couple of grand more expensive, but if we're just going on quality, the quality
Go on then,
appears higher.
What are you going for?
I'm going to give the RSV4, I'm going to go the same as you.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to give it a 9 because
it's almost perfection.
It's almost perfection. Yeah, it's almost perfection. And I'm not, I think you've been a little bit harsh on the BMW, but I do agree there's plastic. I mean, all the trim around the fairing's plastic. You know, there is a bit of plastic on it.
And it's not the fact that it's plastic, but it doesn't even feel particularly great
no,
plastic.
And it can move. You know, agreed. So I'm going to give it an 8.
Okay.
I'm going to give it an 8.
Still close.
Still close.
I think this feels like it's got more mid-range, perhaps when you're not at full throttle, so sort of more power mid-throttle.
I think the point is, on the Aprilia, John, I think you can't be heavy-handed with it. You have to sort of caress it a little bit and think about what you're doing, and then you get the most out of it. I think if you just crack the throttle, I think it might just be, the electronics just stop it happening and it gets a little bit tied up in knots, doesn't it?
Yeah, you could be right. A more of a fine, refined machine which requires gentle inputs.
Yeah, I think so. Whereas the BMW, it's so piss-take easy to ride.
Treat it like a lady is what you're saying. Be fine. Light inputs.
The BMW is bloody good though. I gotta say, you could definitely never buy the BMW and be disappointed, because when you're out with your mates on a long ride or on a Sunday, you could like ride all day and you'd get off and stop when everyone wants to stop and feel totally fresh.
Which one is more desirable?
It's you first this time, isn't it?
Now, I think desirability, it's got to be the RSV4, isn't it? It's Italian, it's sexy, it sounds incredible, it's a V4.
Yep.
You're going to get girls throwing the knickers at you on that one. So I'm the RSV4, so I'm going to give desirability, it's right up there. I'm going to give it a 9. I'm going to give it a 9.
Okay. You want me to give my on the Aprilia and then we'll do the BMW? Okay. So I think desirability is a 10.
You're giving 10?
For the Aprilia. Yeah. I think the noise, the look, when you ride it, people turn their heads and they look, and you can just see people who are a little bit intrigued and a little bit in awe. Yeah. I think you could park it anywhere, and it's the bike people are going to have a look at, and it's fascinating. Yeah. So it's highly
fascinating.
It's highly. It is. I think it is. I just can't stop looking at it when we park up.
Yeah. When Wheels dropped it off just and they wheeled it out the van, it's like a moment, wasn't it? There was a definite build of excitement, wasn't there, as it came out.
I couldn't wait to get on it, and I just felt like a school kid at Christmas almost. It was fantastic.
Yeah, I know.
So no, it's very desirable.
It is. It is. The BMW, it's not as desirable as the RSV4. But it looks lovely, especially in the M Sport colours. I think in those M Sport colours it does look a lot nicer. I love what they've done with the front end. I love the new headlights.
I agree. I think new LEDs. It looks amazing. I really like the subframe colour on it. I don't even know what it is, but it looks really nice. Yeah. And I think in the M Sport colours particularly, it's still desirable.
It's desirable.
And the guy that dropped off the Aprilia from Wheels was really impressed with it, and I felt good about it as well.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not going to give it a 9, but I'm going to go an 8. I'm going to go an 8 on desirability.
Yeah, okay. I think I will join you on an 8.
Are you still in road mode? Or are you in dynamic now?
I'm now in road still. I haven't changed it, but that's okay. It's very, very comfortable.
I think this is a harder bike to ride, fast.
Yeah, I think you're probably right, but I think what you've got to remember is if you bought one and you owned it, you ride around some of its idiosyncrasies, and I think once you've mastered the Aprilia, I think it'll be glorious, so glorious. And it's not that quirky, is it? It's just not as easy as the BMW, because the BMW is so easy.
I think that is why, isn't it? The BMW is just so easy.
And they're coming on quite nicely onto looks. So the looks, you go first on this one.
Looks,
because I did first last time.
I think the Aprilia, I think it looks great. I think my only criticism of the looks are they haven't really changed it much in 10 years. And I know it's got the wings and it's been enhanced, but largely it's the same.
Yeah, it's all development, isn't it?
It's all development. It's still an extremely good looking bike. Yeah. It's lacking LED front ends, which I think we do talk about when we're riding it. And it's quite noticeable. It looks a little bit dated because of that, because they just look yellowy, the lights, don't they?
When it's behind you,
it's not there. But I think looks overall, the back end on it, even though it's old, still amazing. Even without any, it's got a full size plate, no tail tidy, the wings, the carbon. It's a 9.5 for me. Yeah. It looks good.
The colours look great, isn't it? Those colours as well, don't they? 9.5.
BMW.
It's romping away.
Oh no, we're back to Aprilia for you. I beg your pardon. What are you going to do?
No. So looks, I agree with everything you said.
Yeah.
You know, it does need an update, but it's only the lights that need updating, and it's silly. You know, you think LED. You know, it's nothing, is it? Who cares really what the light? And you can get LED bulbs if it really bothers you. You can get LED bulbs in there, so it's no big thing really. Okay. So I think looks, it's a 9. It's a 9 for me on the looks.
BMW
RR.
I think it's a great looking bike as well. Yeah. And actually, when I followed you on the road, it looks amazing from, you know, the side, the back, and in the mirrors when I was leading. It looks great. Yeah. What score did I give for the 9.5?
9.5.
I think it's. I'm going to go 9, but I think, you know, it's not quite as good looking, but it's still very good looking.
They've done a great job with updating it, haven't they?
Definitely.
I love the front of it. You know, it looks Italian. That front end looks amazing. It looks Italian.
I don't know why they didn't do it in the first place. I never was a big lover of the asymmetrical front lights on the other one, and the back end was too long on the old one. Yeah. I think the back end of this looks great. I love the fact they've ditched the main rear light and you've got the integrated rear really lights in the indicators. It looks good.
I'm echoing everything you've said basically, and I'm going to go 9 as well.
Does look nice, the Aprilia in the back though. Really tiny back end. It hasn't even got a tail tidy on it. It doesn't look too bad. Lovely back end. That not really nice. It's been around years, isn't it, that back end, but it still looks good today.
Talking about the bike or my back end?
Yeah, you look lovely.
Comfort. So this is getting all very practical now.
It is. Yeah.
So comfort. Is it me first this time?
It is, yeah.
So comfort on the RSV4. It's not bad. It's not as good as the BMW.
Yeah, agreed.
But it's okay. I could part with it. It would
better than we thought it would be.
It's better than you think it would be.
It's better than I thought it would be.
Especially being quite tall. When you're 6'1", I'm 6'2". You know, it's a compact bike.
It is,
without a doubt. But even still, you've got a bit more weight on your wrists on that. Yeah. But it's still acceptable. It's not too much weight on your wrists.
And the seat on the Aprilia is way more comfortable.
Yeah, I think because it's the M Sport seat, it's a lot thinner because it's meant for the track.
I agree. That seat does not work for me on the road at all on the BMW.
It's very hard.
Yeah, and it's just the wrong shape. It's designed for you to just keep hanging off the bike side to side, which again on the track's fantastic, but on the road just doesn't make any sense. And within 15 minutes I was not happy about it.
As long as that, I didn't think it was that. That was the first thing you said when you got on it.
Exactly.
Yeah, so for comfort on that, you know, I'm good for a sports bike. So this is comfort for a sports bike. You know, it's no Goldwing. You know, so I'm going to give it a 7.5. I'm going to give it a 7.5.
Yeah. I think I'm going to join you. I think 7.5. Yeah. It's better than I thought it would be. You know, it's still not something you'd want to ride around town on delivering pizzas on for very long. But it's totally fine. The seat is good. The seat is very comfortable. For me personally, the pegs aren't that high in relative terms.
Both of them.
They're roomy. You know, just feel it's pretty good. Yeah. So BMW.
I'm going to give it a 9.
Are you?
I'm going to give it a 9 on comfort for a sports bike.
Yeah, exactly. And this has got to be for a sports bike.
Yeah, exactly. You're not going to say a Goldwing's a 10. Exactly. For a sports bike, it's all relative, isn't it? And for a sports bike, it is really comfortable. The pegs are a nice height. The old bike, the pegs were much higher. I think the pegs were another 2 inches higher, maybe more on the old bike. How do they sound?
Aprilia sounds incredible. I think it's amazing. It's amazing. Everyone that's into bikes must have heard an Aprilia V4.
Yeah. So I just put 10 for both of us for the
no. Sorry, yes, yeah. It's 10. It's 10. It's the best sounding bike, I think, bar none. It's incredible, and I actually think that. Again, I don't want to offend any Ducati V4 riders, but I think the V4 is a disappointing sound because I was hoping it would sound something a bit like the Aprilia. Yeah, that sounds incredible.
Nice.
I love it.
You love it?
I do. I've got to say. I think I prefer the handling of that straight away.
Do you?
I prefer it, yeah. I just get more feedback from it.
Interesting.
I find with a lot of BMWs, they're just a little bit disconnected for me.
Yeah.
It's early days because I've hardly ridden the BMW, and the Aprilia I've only been on for 20 minutes.
Have another go. Do the same thing up and down.
I'll do the same on the BMW.
Do the same on the BM.
And I'm not criticising the BMW, but I just think, that personal preference.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, you get to sort of 4.5, 5 grand on that, and
it just suddenly wakes up, doesn't it?
It's lovely.
I don't know if that's something to do with the valve. They got like the standard Aqua, and it's got the valve in here, isn't it? So whether the valve opens and then it comes alive.
I think so.
Certainly volume-wise, it comes alive when the valve opens.
What does it sound like as a ride bike?
Oh, it sounds lovely. Yeah, it sounds absolutely beautiful when you come past. There's certainly already there's a clear winner on sound. We can agree on that much for sure.
Sound for the BMW? As stock. This is stock, both stock, because that comes with the Aprilia.
That's just how we're testing them stock.
So it's low, isn't it? It doesn't sound, you can't hear it.
It's got a nice little pop as you come down on the blipper.
It's not your hip, is it?
That's the hip coming out. It's got a nice little pop. But yeah, it's very, very quiet.
Too quiet. A little bit hard because you need to put a pipe on it, and then it sounds like a nice thrashy V4. I beg your pardon, straight four.
It's got a nice bit of induction roar.
A bit of induction roar, but it's a lot quieter
power.
than the Triumph Street Triple RS, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
it's a lot quieter than that. Yeah. So it's too quiet, and when you're really on the over 50 mile an hour, you can't hear it at all.
Yeah.
And actually, if you didn't have the dashboard, I would struggle to know what actually was going on.
Yeah, it's a shame because
it's too quiet.
It's going to mark it down quite a lot because it is so quiet. You can't really give it.
Having said that, though, there's no rough noises.
No, exactly.
It's very refined.
Yeah.
So it's not like some quiet bikes you can hear too much and I think it's pretty unpleasant.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go 5 because it's nondescript and.
I'm going to go 6.
Are you?
I'm going to go 6.
Okay.
I'm going to go 6.
She sounds nice.
God, does it ever?
Okay, a couple more to go. Equipment levels.
Yeah.
Getting a bit of a boring one. Times the BMW might claw a bit more back on equipment.
It will do, yeah.
So starting with the RR, I mean, we've already said you've got the fuel gauge. It's got all of those road.
There's nothing missing, John.
I can't think of anything else you'd want on it that it hasn't got.
I agree. So. Well, you score it short term, but it's got to be high.
I'm going to give it a 10.
I think I am.
I'm going to give it a 10.
It's a 10 because it's got every creature comfort you could ever want.
Yeah.
The quick shifter and the blipper on the BMW is superior to the Aprilia. The Aprilia is fantastic up, but I struggled a little bit down.
Yeah, it's just silky.
It's beautiful. It's got everything. The dash is amazing. It's got every creature comfort. It's very easy to use. Changing the modes is very easy on the fly.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not even used to the bike, and it's just so easy.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
For the RSV4 equipment, it's not bad. You know,
it's not.
It's got cruise control, which is the beat. If it didn't have cruise control, I wouldn't be happy.
No.
I do like cruise control on a sports bike.
I do as well, particularly on a sports bike more than ever because you need to give your right wrist a break.
You do.
And it's really nice, isn't it? Just put it on for a few minutes, just move things around. I think the equipment levels on the Aprilia are still pretty good. It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
It's
just it's the fuel gauge. No, it's a fuel gauge.
Yeah.
With a bike which has such a small reserve on it, you've got to do the trip. If you forget to do the trip, it's just a bit of a ball ache. But it's got the cruise. I'm going to score it a 8.
Yeah, okay.
I'm going to score it an 8.
I'm going to join you as well because it's very, very good as well.
It is.
And don't forget, it does come with the Akrapovic, which
that's true actually. Yeah,
so which I think as a stock item.
I'm going to go 8.5.
Are you? Okay.
Yeah, but, just for that, I forgot about
that. But that's a lot of money. I know it's more money in the first place, but that's a lot of money that you don't have to fork out after you've bought it, and it's loud enough.
That's a very good point.
Yeah,
that's a very good point.
Yeah, this is much easier to ride because that throttle isn't as sensitive, so it can be a little bit more, you know what I mean? You don't have to be quite as fine, quite as finesse quite so much.
The last one, value for money.
Ooh.
It's difficult because they're both so expensive, aren't they? So value for money. I'll let you go first on this one.
No, I will. So I think I personally think the price of bikes now, and I think partly because and it's fairly self-evident from looking at me on the camera, I'm quite old now. But I think the price of bikes now, in my mind, is getting quite serious.
Yeah.
You know, I was buying Elite sports bikes, which doesn't seem that long ago, for like under 9.
Yeah.
And now we're talking about 20, 22 and a half. So it's serious amounts of money. The question is, which is the better value of the two, or are they good value at all?
Just value overall.
Value
really.
overall. So I think it's hard to justify spending that much money on a bike, full stop. And you don't need to spend that much money on a bike, I don't think. And it's all very well having the latest and greatest, but if you're doing track days, then you might start getting paranoid you're going to crash it.
Right,
And on the road, you don't need the performance of these or the exotica of these really, because you're not touching the sides of what they're capable of, are you? Really?
No, God no.
But I think that the Aprilia is slightly better value because it comes with what I would say are traditionally more expensive components, like the Öhlins, like the carbon fibre trim. You know, it's got that sort of panache. Whereas I think the BMW, for me, I don't think it's such good value. And I think the base sport model, so not the base model, the sport model, the S1000, I think that's pretty good value.
Yeah.
I think the M Sport for me is getting a little bit too fruity on the price.
Yeah, it's the trouble, isn't it? It's all these, like the carbon wheels. The
might
price of carbon wheels, it's not too bad. If you think £3 extra when you got carbon, they're only about £2.5 for carbon wheels to buy. So
I get all of that.
Yeah, but you're right. I mean, this has got the Stylema Brembos. That's got BMW
branded brakes.
They work fantastically.
They do work
They
really
actually
well.
work better than these on this particular bike. I think this bike may not have been running the brakes very well. There's a lot of lever movement.
But you've got to caveat that because I've got those brakes on my bike and they are
fantastic.
Absolutely amazing.
That's what I mean.
So I think that's probably...
I think it's this bike. I've ridden other ones and they've been spot on.
Right. But the brakes on that are amazing.
They're amazing.
But
really good.
For me personally, if I was spending £20,000, they just don't look very nice.
No.
Do they?
No.
They just don't. And that's all part of the value experience, I think.
I agree. So that you're right. You're very, very
I
true.
think let's score it. So Aprilia on value, I'm going to say, given what you get, and given that it's hugely desirable, and compare it to the likes of I know we're doing a comparison between the two, but if you think about Italian bikes, other brands, they're expensive. MV Agusta, Ducati.
Yeah. Well, 27 grand for that Brutale.
Exactly. I think the value for money of the Aprilia is I'm going to go 8.5.
Yeah.
And I think for the BMW M Sport trim, I'm going to go 7 because I think it's a lot of money.
It's good. Yeah, good scores. I'm tempted just to follow suit there, but I think the RSV4. I think you're right. What you've got on it for the price. It's another £2.5 more, almost than that.
Yeah.
It's got the Öhlins,
which is not an insignificant sum.
It is a lot of money.
But they're both hugely expensive, so therefore, which one do you think represents slightly better? I think as well. Sorry, John, to cut you off and actually scoring, but one has to consider future values, depreciation as well. Yeah. And I think with that desirability, and I think that's all part of the value proposition. Well, that's certainly how I think about it.
Yeah.
I don't want to lead the witness.
No, I'm going to go 8.
Okay.
On the RSV4, and I'm going to go 7 with you.
Are you?
On that one?
Yeah. Okay. So the question is,
we need to do some maths now.
Mathematically capable to add them all up?
Certainly not. I'm passing it over to you.
You're going to have to pause this for a minute, aren't you?
Greg is a mathematician, by the way. I'd just like to add that. He is, that's part of your job, you are a mathematician. Let's put the countdown music on now. Shall I get the calculator?
No. Oh, lost my track. Count then. You're not going to put this in, obviously, are you?
I don't know, am I?
No.
Got the outtake. As soon as you mentioned halves, I knew it was going to be difficult to add out. The scores are in.
Is this going to help proceedings?
Well, I don't know, is it? It's quite close, isn't it?
It is close.
It's quite close. So, in total, adding up our scores, the S1000, we have a total of 130 points, 130.5.
So that is your scores plus my scores all
added together.
Yep.
The RSV4, 139.5.
Really?
So the RSV4 is the winner on points.
Based on
points. But the question is, which one? If I could give you the keys to one of these bikes, and you had to keep it for the next 5 years, you couldn't say, I'll just buy it and sell it.
Yeah.
Which one would you take?
The Aprilia.
You'd take the Aprilia.
I would, yeah. I love it. It's just amazing. Yeah, just the experience. It's just too good. It's got some idiosyncrasies. It's got some little niggles that I'm not so sure about, but overall it's phenomenal. And I just can't stop laughing when I'm riding it. It's just brilliant. It's really good. And I feel more confident on it overall. I think the handling suits me better.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay,
it's very racy, but yeah, I just prefer it. You?
I'm a little bit more torn than you. It's not as obvious for me which one I'd have. I like the practicality of that.
Yeah.
I like this, how nice it is to ride on the road, how comfortable it is.
Yeah.
You know, I'd want something maybe to use that for longer trips.
A bit more versatility.
Use it as almost a bit of a mile muncher to a degree, and I think you could use that. You know, if I've got to go up to test a bike, Bury St Edmunds like I did the other week, go on that. And whereas I wouldn't really want to do it on that.
No, fair enough.
So
BMW for you then. It's allowed.
I know. This is amazing.
Yeah.
But I think I would take the BMW.
Right. Okay. Good. But we're agreed that they're both fantastic.
They're both
and
incredible.
The Aprilia is my preferred bike, but equally, if you gave me the keys to the BMW for the next 5 years and said that's it,
I'll be perfectly happy with that.
Yeah, exactly. You wouldn't be disappointed. They're both amazing bikes.
Yeah,
they are quite different, aren't they?
Yeah,
they are quite different.
And this is a road test. I mean, you haven't taken these on track. I mean, if you took them on track, you may form different opinions. You know, so we're talking.
This is one afternoon on roads. On roads, a lot of them that we do know reasonably well.
Yeah,
some I know less well. And you know, they're both amazing, quite different, different characters, different handling, so different. Yeah. But there you go.
There we go. BMW for me, I think. I could be easily swayed, but I'm thinking BMW.
Stick with your decision.
RSV4 for you.
It is, definitely.
There we are. Well, what we're going to do is the end of August, I should be getting the new Fireblade SP-RR. So perhaps we could do a rematch. The Triple R. The RRR. Perhaps Wheels would be kind enough to lend us this again.
Yep.
Plus the probably this. I reckon go the RSV4 versus the Blade.
Perfect.
To see which ones we prefer, and then we could win. I know it's a shame we've not both agreed on a bike, because then we could take the out. Mind you, that is the outright winner on paper, on points. The RSV4
based on that careful objective scoring system.
Exactly.
So consider it.
The RSV4 is the winner. So we're going to take the winner versus the new Blade.
So personal preference, I prefer the Aprilia, you prefer the BMW, but overall winner, you have to accept, John, is the Aprilia based on the scoring system that you came up with, your criteria.
It's one.
No, but I think you're right. An Aprilia test against the new Blade will be brilliant. We both own Blades.
Yeah.
Not the current one, far from it.
Yeah.
But we're familiar with Blades, aren't we?
That'll be a good test,
and I'm really, really intrigued to ride that.
And we've got the Japanese garden for it, so absolutely perfect for the Japanese
bike. Back out to Japan for that test as well. So we keep flying out. I'm very jet lagged, aren't you?
Terrible. That's why I couldn't have the scores up. Thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate your support as always.